Boom, shaka, laka, boom. You've tuned in to the Free Range Human Show of Choice, your daily dose of reality radio. We are live here on 103.9 FM, WYAB. I got my boy, my favorite blue-haired in spirit, liberal, Belhaven liberalite, Mr. Shaun YURTKURAN here in the studio with me. If you're watching on the live stream, you can only see half of Shaun because camera angles, yo. We will get that worked out during the break. But until then, we are streaming live on the Save Jackson X account, YouTube, Facebook, and we are, in fact, streaming live on Rumble this time. I got it all set up in advance last night. So.
Fancy.
Yep.
Fancy.
As previously mentioned, we would get this thing worked out. But, when you have a guest, when you have one camera and you have a guest in studio, getting that said camera angle right is interesting. So we'll just say that. And we have other hosts that have shows before and after. You can't infringe upon their time to adjust my vanity camera.
Right.
So,
I understand.
As life goes. Shaun, what's going on with you, man? I haven't seen you in a few days.
Man, not much. Just whatchamacallit, same old, really. Nothing eventful, except for, I guess Sunday was pretty eventful, but other than that.
Yeah, with the assassination attempt?
Yeah, just it's becoming a regular thing lately.
Yeah, so you had initially came out, and I'm sure that from some of the media sources you look at, they tried to say that this guy was a former Trump supporter, but after further review, there is no proof that this guy was a former Trump supporter of any kind. Actually,
I got that from the New York Post.
Just like the other misinformation?
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? I looked at the New York Post because it was kind of...
my coffee.
Yeah, sure. It generally skews conservative, so I figured, it'd be good enough for you, basically. So,
but they hate Trump.
Do they hate Trump?
Yeah, they're not Trump guys.
Aren't they the Hunter Biden laptop people?
Yeah, but they don't like Trump.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't like Trump.
Huh. Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, so, after further review, the guy was never a Trump supporter of any kind. But, and I'm not calling you out, I'm just saying, I know that was floating out there.
No, I mean, that's what I read.
And then, of course, just like initially, the New York Post reported, it was nobody trying to kill Trump. It was just two guys in a bad area of town.
Yeah, which just sound ridiculous now when you look back at it in terms of where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he built it in the ghetto.
Yeah, I was trying to think about,
I just don't.
And don't get me wrong, an area of town can go bad after the fact, but clearly there's a vested interest there for that not to happen in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Or something,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I think West Palm Beach, Florida is one of the richest zip codes in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's, a little bit north of Miami. It's pretty nice. It's rather nice.
It is. So what are your thoughts on this, man? I mean, how do we keep ending up in this situation? Did you watch the press conference? And I don't mean to circle back to a couple day old stuff. We just hadn't had a chance to talk about this, and I want your input on it. The Secret Service, the guys that are literally wrapped around Trump, they're obviously doing a good job.
Yeah, I think they did a great job.
I don't want to sit there and roll them under the bus. It's kind of like JPD, for example. I'm sure there's some good cops at JPD.
Right.
But clearly the leadership structure previously and with the mayor, I only have so much love I can give them. Just knowing that they have golden handcuffs. Like, I think the current chief is great. And I don't mean to turn this into a Jackson thing. I'm trying to make an analogy here. They can be great, but the leadership can be terrible. Yeah, and I think that's what's going on with the Secret Service. It feels like there's a mole somewhere in the Secret Service that protects Trump.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about obviously the agents on the ground did a great job spotting this guy and didn't get a shot off. I think nothing but credit to them. Though, what would you? So I thought about this a lot. I'm glad you brought it up. What would you have? I mean, I know you're not a security expert, neither am I, so I don't know how you would say that. But do you think there should have been more agents to sweep the whole course, I guess, before he played, or what do you think? Because I was kind of thinking about that.
Okay, now I want to take the benefit of the doubt and understand that a golf course is a massively huge facility, right?
Yeah.
And it eats up a lot of land and everything else. However, that the fifth hole is the closest hole to the street. Okay. So it is a security threat. Mm-hmm. If there's going to be a threat, it's the fifth hole. The security guy even said that. I mean, the Secret Service guy in the press conference even said that. We run. He gave away a bit of their strategical stuff as well. He said, yes, when Trump plays golf, we or any president, we run a hole ahead.
Okay.
So where if he's on the fourth hole, we're already at the fifth hole, and that's how we found the guy. But that guy had been posted up there for 12 hours. Trump's going to play golf. Why haven't you swept the perimeter?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you think you'd do that. Do you know what
with drones and everything else?
Yeah, right. I mean, we've got drone technology. You could do that. Yeah. What do you know what? I haven't read this yet, but what is the standard? Because a lot of presidents have played golf. Like all of them love golf. It seems like. I mean, wasn't it a big joke about Obama playing golf all the time? I think that's what I remember from those years. Like he was always playing golf.
I remember like vacation stuff, but probably. I mean, there's a thing about Trump playing golf now. I mean, one president that hadn't worked is Biden.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he has been on vacation a lot, but.
I don't know. Can he even play golf at this point?
Well, I mean, he seems to think he can beat Trump in a golf game, but as far as like actually playing golf, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, I wonder what the standard. I haven't read this yet. What all these presidents have played golf? What do you do? What does the Secret Service normally do when a president plays golf? Like, what's their standard operating procedure for that? I think it'd be interesting to know that because I mean, so many have played golf, and that's a common thing they do while they're president, which is and they have more beefed up security once they are actually president. So I'm just curious about that too.
Well, we have had a former Secret Service agent on here as a guest before, and I have a cousin who's a retired Secret Service agent who was with Reagan and stuff back in the day and was with the White House and all that. So maybe I can reach out to him and maybe we can get him on the show sometime and tell some stories, and we can ask a couple questions like that. But again, I would think that if nothing else, I don't know that you can surround the whole golf course. I think it's just time to give Trump all the protection that you would give the president. This guy's had 2 threats on his life. You clearly want him to die if you don't at this point.
I mean, yeah, you got to beef it up. I mean, I think even Biden called for that, didn't he? He said for Congress.
They said they were going to, and then they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I know he said it again the other days. I don't know why. I don't know the procedure for that. It seems like the president could do an executive order, but I don't know for sure whether that you need congressional. I mean, I guess they need funding for that. So.
I mean, we have trillions of dollars in budgets. I mean, we're talking about a few, another 50 people, couple hundred, whatever.
I mean, we all agree
this should not be a financial thing at all.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the bureaucratic resistance is, I mean, they should do it. I think we all agree that they need to do that. Yeah, I mean,
you bring supplement it with special forces guys, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, they did at this point, especially. I did think about the actual case from a prosecution perspective. So I kind of went on a rabbit hole on this. Ron DeSantis says Florida is going to charge him, I think, with attempted murder. And now the feds have him on convicted felon with a firearm and for having like a scrub serial, basically like when you scrub a VIN number of a car, like scrubs. Yeah. So they had those federal charges. But then, I'm trying to figure out, like, is there what's the federal attempted murder statute? I don't know exactly what that is because I'm more of a state practitioner than, federal. I know that I looked up a statute where threats against a former president is a federal crime that carries like 5 years. But those are I assume those would be more like verbal threats and not actually what this guy did.
Yeah, remember the guy up in North Mississippi they got for threatening Obama?
Yeah.
Making some kind of threats about it, killing Obama or something like that.
Right. I think so. So I'm wondering exactly what they would charge him with. Then I thought about the case in general. Now, on face value, it seems pretty obvious, right? This guy's laying in wait 12 hours at Trump's course. With he's posted anti-Trump things. There's a lot of things that you could, but he didn't. I mean, he didn't actually get a shot off, right? And he didn't. This is interesting. Apparently I read he took the Fifth Amendment, so he made no statement confessing to anything. I mean, I think he still get convicted, but I just thought it was fascinating when I'm like, wait, you got to piece that one together. What was his intention? It seems obvious to all of us what his intention was. Sure. I mean, I was thinking about from putting on the case, prosecution perspective. There's you got to say, well, here he posted this, and I wondered the admissibility of those things. I don't know. I was getting a legal dork kind of brain going on and trying to figure all that out from what would be the extra federal charge that's coming, or is Florida the state charge better for this circumstance because he is a former president, not a current federal official? So I want to, I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways you can go with it, and it's going to be kind of fascinating how they proceed with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I don't think it'll be much of an issue, but you just never know.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to they got him on convicted. He's a convicted felon. He got caught with a AK-47. They called. I saw Hunter wrote that he thought it was an SKS, though. I kind of deferred to him on the gun stuff.
So I ended up, at least the last little bit of information I saw was it was an SKS.
Okay.
I think that's what the Secret Service said in their press conference.
That's what they're saying.
Was an SKS, that's a Russian-style kind of Cold War era gun, if my memory serves.
And he was in Ukraine, right?
Do I know?
Wasn't he in Ukraine, this guy?
I don't know if he went to Ukraine, but I know he did a news report telling Americans they needed to go to Ukraine and fight.
No, he was actually there. I read that.
Did he go? Too bad he made it back.
I don't think I think they said the Ukrainians even said he was crazy is what I saw. And they were like, they didn't let him fight because they're like, this guy's kind of a lunatic. I think that's what I saw. I have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
This guy, I'm just looking at some pictures. I'm on X, kind of scrolling about this topic, seeing if anything new has broke. And this guy just looks like an absolute unhinged nut job.
Crazy. Then I read that he also, so he supports Biden in 2020, and then he was supporting a Vivek Haley ticket in for this year.
He's got a Walls Harris sticker on his car.
Does he got one on his? Does he got one on his car? Okay, I just say that's what I've read too. I mean, there's all this information going around everywhere.
Where are you reading that kind of stuff?
That was in the Post as well. I guess they keep on reporting that.
They it just seems like the blue side is determined for this guy to have at some point been a Trump supporter.
Well,
a Republican. I mean, I'm not a Republican.
Well, like I said, I don't know. I consider the New York Post a blue paper. It's definitely skews conservative, so that's why.
I mean, to me, the Post is just tabloid more as much as anything.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that's what I've always thought. Because I guess after the Hunter Biden thing, I always assumed that this was that it was a conservative publication.
That's funny that we've gotten to the point now where people reporting facts has to be a left or a right thing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the way it works. So, I mean, there's certain things. Sometimes I feel like there's stuff in conservative stuff that they won't report the facts on. Some things maybe a Democrat does, and vice versa. So that's why I was called the media is a puzzle, because you don't know what. You got to look around to figure out what really actually happened.
But the media also said initially that this guy had no criminal record.
Did they say that? I don't remember that part.
Yeah. I did. It was the second I put it together. The second we got his name, ran it through AI and all that, and Google. So, no criminal record. This guy was a ghost. No, clearly not a ghost. Had arrested 100 times, I think.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a convicted felon firearm. I don't know what are his prior felonies.
Terroristic threats.
Is that what he was? I don't even know what the other ones were.
Yeah, terrorist. Some type of terroristic mass killing threat type thing.
You know what also did bother me about the whole thing? I sent you that Chris Cuomo video last night.
I watched it. Did you watch that? And I watched the Chris saga.
I got it. Yeah. I think Cuomo makes a really good point there, saying that Kamala Harris hasn't really said anything except for I condemn political violence, and it seems like she should have called him or something. I mean, considering the gravity is, that's why. So everybody that's not in the weeds of this, Chris Cuomo and Donald Trump have not been close. They've been kind of enemies over the years and things between them. But Cuomo just felt so bad about it that he called him up and was like, "Hey man, how are you doing? Are you okay?" And I mean, it's kind of a serious thing at this point where there's been 2 attempts on his life, and we're not, like, just as a person, how's his mental? I mean, he's got to be kind of, you know what I'm saying? Just he's got to be nervous. I think just as your humanity should reach out to him and say, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
Well, I mean, Chris Cuomo needs to apologize as much. I mean, I listened to that last night and him talking about the whole threat to democracy. And I was like, you did this for 2 years.
Trump did call him Fredo, though. Remember that?
Well, I mean, calling somebody Fredo and using language to get somebody killed are 2 completely different things.
Right. I mean, I don't remember. Did Cuomo say that? I'm sure he did. I just, I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure he did at one point.
They could sit there with a, I'm trying to use language on the radio here that I can use. What a fun circle. Y'all fill in the blank with Don Lemon and his brother.
That's the one I remember being
constantly bashing Trump for 2 years during COVID and everything, and running up to the election in 2020. That it's just nonsense to sit there and act like he's above it all now. But, I called and just to tell him I was thinking about him. And
well, he did say he apologized for all the other stuff, too, in that video. Now I'm remembering that, didn't he?
It's just funny.
At least somebody reached out to him on the other side. I thought that was kind of cool that he did that.
Yeah, but Cuomo's been on this apology tour thing.
He has been on the apology tour.
And he was on PBD saying he was going to vote for Trump not too long ago, and now he's acting like, I guess he's changed his mind.
I never heard him say that on PBD. Did he?
It sounded like he said he was going to support him.
I thought he said he. Okay, I thought he said he wasn't, but there were certain things he could do to change his mind. That's what I remember.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just don't. He's a very disingenuous individual. He was there. I'm not welcoming this guy. I'm not believing his apology. He got fired, and he's trying to find a niche because he thinks Trump's going to win.
Yeah,
and it just all seems very disingenuous to me.
And it could. I mean, most of these guys are disingenuous. I mean, I don't know if anything's really real, but at least one disingenuous person actually called him up. Yep. Instead of I'm just saying, like, I think Kamala Harris should have called him and checked on him, even if it was being, disingenuous at that point. I think it's just a human thing to do after talking about 2 attempts, and saying we're going to do whatever we can to make sure you're protected or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to disagree. I don't think they should. They're the ones trying to get him killed. Honestly, I think it's right on brand for them not to call him. And frankly, if I feel like you're trying to get me killed, I don't want you calling and apologizing when you're almost successful twice. You're my enemy.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if rhetoric if you were in Trump's shoes, do you want to hear from the person that's literally out there that's causing all this and apologizing and then not actually doing anything to stop it moving forward?
I think I'd listen if they said, "Hey, look, man, we're going to stop all this at this point." I think I'd listen to that. I would listen to that at least. Not if they apologized and then went back out there and said, "Guess what? I just called the guy that's a threat to democracy." Like then that would be a problem.
Well, it's kind of exactly what they did after the last shooting. I mean, they said this,
and that happened. Yeah,
and then they went right back out there and started calling him a threat to democracy, an existential threat to democracy.
Yeah, on one hand it was like, we're going to stop the political rhetoric. The next is like, he's a threat to democracy.
It's like, for instance, if all of my rhetoric towards Chokwe was to cause something to happen to him, I wouldn't call him and apologize.
Well, I mean, I don't know that actually now that I think about it, I don't know that I ever would call Chokwe and apologize about anything.
I am the left-wing media towards Chokwe's Trump in this scenario. Hear me out.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm the left-wing media calling him an existential threat to Jackson and Jacksonians.
Yeah.
And I think he has way more blood on his hands than any president has in a long time. So if my rhetoric was to somehow get somebody fired up and they came and said, well, I did this because I listen to Clay Edwards every day. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, you know what? We have definitely fanned those flames. So, but I've never said anybody should do anything violent. Never will. I don't condone violence, like that political violence. I'm just saying, I wouldn't have the audacity to pick up the phone and apologize.
Yeah.
Like, no, I mean, we kind of set this ship sailing. So it just seems it would be very fake if I did. Is my point. All right, let's take a break. We got Shaun YURTKURAN here in the studio. We're streaming live worldwide at Save Jackson on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and X. Well, on Rumble, it's at Clay Edwards Show. And, of course, we're on WYAB.com and the Mothership, 103.9 FM, WYAB. We will be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. Which that reminds me, I need to change a setting here real quick on the computer. But hey, we are live. Hey, tonight, guys, I'm going to be out at Burgers Blues Barbecue. Okay, so we had the wrong microphone on.
Okay, now I can hear myself. It's working now.
Is it?
Yep.
Well, I haven't even made a change yet. So
what's working? I don't know. I think it's maybe because I went to that earplug over there.
I had I forgot to cut the right mic on. When you go in the system that we use, you got to change the board. Anyway, it was on the camera mic. Hope we didn't say anything bad during the break. With that said, hey, tonight, Burgers Blues Barbecue. It is round 2 of the Cordless Corner music competition kicking off. It starts at 7 p.m. It's going to run the next 4 weeks right there at Burgers Blues Barbecue, downtown Brandon. Man, look, when we did it back there in early summer, it was a massive hit. We had 200-plus people every Wednesday night, lots of great live entertainment. It's them, their guitars. They're going to be doing cover songs. We've tweaked the format just a little bit this year. I wasn't a part of that, but I am one of the judges. And I will be broadcasting a live version of the Clay Edwards Show on site, on location, starting about 5:30, somewhere in that time frame for a good hour and a half. I'll be interviewing people who are participants in the competition. I'll be interviewing Bo Trebitich, the host and, the promoter of the event. Maybe we get Philip Yarbrough on there. He's the host and MC. We'll be interviewing, again, the participants. And random people that I find interesting. Maybe we can get Mr. Steven Sala with Burgers Blues Barbecue on there to kind of tell their story. But it's going to be a great time. We're going to be doing it every Wednesday starting tonight. I'm really excited about that, excited to be a part of the Cordless Corner. Man, remembering all this stuff in my head is I need to actually write something down for once. But with all that said, tonight it begins. But hey, why wait till the end to go to Burgers Blues Barbecue? If you're out and about this morning, you want breakfast, the Madison location and the Flowood location have breakfast made from scratch, chicken, waffles, Southern-style chicken biscuits. They got fruit bowls, all kind of healthy stuff, or unhealthy, depending on your perception of what health is.
Yeah.
And get over there, man, enjoy it. Healthy and hearty. How about that? Healthy or hearty? There we go.
Hearty, huh? That's a
Hearty.
No, I know what you meant.
Oh,
I just haven't heard anybody say that since like a 1980s like Folgers commercial or something.
Oh, I thought you were referencing back to my whole conversation about Hardy.
No.
The whole conversation about weight and stuff. But neither here nor there. Well, I may get your opinion on that later in the show. So get out there today, grab a great breakfast from one of the two Burgers Blues locations that are open for breakfast. That's Madison and Flowwood right there in Dogwood. The brand new location in Dogwood, by the way. Y'all get by and check it out. It is, in my opinion, the coolest of the three. It's really neat. A lot of time and effort went into getting that place right. I think it's awesome with the roll-up garage door. Half the bar's inside, half of it's outside on the patio. It's really neat.
It's a cool bar. I mean, y'all got a good setup downtown in Brandon.
Oh, yeah, I love that one, too.
Yeah.
The little B3, the little dive bar kind of thing, and then the huge patio. It's neat. Well, yeah, y'all get out there. Enjoy that. All right, man. The Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. You can text there. You can also just comment. If you're watching the live stream, we'll read your comments there. I'm referring to that as the chat. So if y'all hear me say the chat, I'm referring to the comments online. And I will change it let's see, if I put the comments on the screen, it puts them over my face, so I can't have that. So we'll tweak that. But with that said, Shaun, we got a great text on the Guns and Gear text line during the break. I wouldn't tell Shaun what it was either.
No, of course.
He said, "You're sandbagging me."
Sandbagging me.
I was like, well, not to be rude, but we got a great text here from somebody, and they said, Clay, unknown texter, Clay, if you had a chance, would you have a beer with Chockway? No politics, just hanging out. Absolutely not.
That's a good question.
Now, not with no politics.
Yeah,
want to sit down and have a conversation and have some beers, I would entertain that.
Yeah, I'd like to, but I feel like the conversation would just be a load of crap on his part.
It would. I mean? Dude, it's like, I've told you, I've used this phrase a million times, but I'm going to do it again. It's like, I got to have an honest place of, the foundation of our conversation has to be honest. It's like, if you can't agree that men, and women, you're born a man, and you're a man till you die. You're born a woman. You're a woman till you die. I don't care what you do to yourself in the meantime.
Right.
If we can't agree on that, we just nothing we can agree on.
Well, if you're saying, like, if we're not operating at a place of reality, I guess, right? Like, I think that's why initially you and I got along so well, because we're like, the first thing we could get out of the way is like, all right, dude, a man should not, compete in a woman's sport. Like, it just seems pretty obvious to anybody. And if you really argue in the opposite, you're being disingenuous, whatever your position is, because it's just, there's, physiological differences between men and women, and those are just existed for all of time. So, I think when you're saying that, I see what you're saying. Like, there's base level things we can agree on, and that's one of them, I think.
Because then I can respect your difference. I can respect our differences in opinion.
Right.
The rest of the way, because you're a sane individual.
Yeah.
You're not trying to justify, rationalize crazy.
Exactly.
It's like, you have a different opinion on things than I do. Okay, we're cool there. But we can agree that reality is reality.
Yeah.
And with Chockway, reality ain't reality.
No, it's completely not. I think the whole way he's been acting he's acting like nothing's going on, which is always what shocks me the most. Like, there's nothing, there's not a pending federal indictment possibly for him. Like, if it were me, I'd probably locked up my house. He would never hear from me. I don't know.
Sure.
He's just acting like, man, look, he's doing his podcast. He's doing like you do. He's doing a podcast. He's doing everything else.
I'll say this. I got to play devil's advocate a little bit. It is commendable that he's able to get up and go to work every day. Yeah. I guess if I got to find something positive to say, like, Clay, you got to say something positive. He's able to get up and go to work every day with that kind of stress on him. But I was watching a video last night on WLBT. I just put a new video up on the Save Jackson YouTube, by the way, talking about Thalia Hall and the baseball stadium. I did like a 2-for-1 video, but it's got him basically saying, the state sees what's going on at Thalia. It's no mistake that they showed up that same day to do their fire inspection. But but you failed it.
I listened to the same thing on the drive over here,
and he was like,
really relating to Smith Wills, also too, because I know it's the same thing. We're going to talk about Belmare and Smith Wills. Somebody, I couldn't, having my YouTube TV on my phone, so I'll just listen to it when I'm not looking at it when I'm driving. And the things that they were interviewing, I don't know what Jackson official this was, but they said the state has done nothing but take assets from us, and that's it. And I'm like, don't we remember 2 years ago when there wasn't any water Like, how would, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just like, I'm tacking off what you were saying about being detached from reality. And when you make a statement like the state is doing nothing but taking assets and is always taking assets, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it was something to that effect. The state is always taking assets and that's all they've ever done. No, there would be no city if the state had not stepped in. Because the city, you know, one of the most basic things you need is water. Like every human civilization, that's kind of been the problem, right? Like we got to find a water source. So I think
from the aqueducts in Rome and all that. I mean, it's one of the first things I really remember learning in school
about aqueducts.
It was aqueducts in Rome. Like those things, it really stuck in my brain. Understanding how these cities were built, it was getting water, and I've been fascinated by that ever since. Have you? And there's not to jump down a rabbit hole here, but
we could. I talk about Roman history. I love it.
But well, not just Roman history, but there's a really good documentary, several of them on YouTube about getting water to Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
And the fight for water in Los Angeles.
You always tell me about these, and I get stuck all weekend.
I know. And it is fascinating about it. Or getting water to Las Vegas.
Right.
It is fascinating how we are doing these things and the battle that goes on. But if we can get water to Los Angeles from Nevada, basically, from Northern California, if we can get water to the desert for a city like Las Vegas to survive.
Yeah.
But they can't keep the water on in Jackson, Mississippi, with the reservoir, with the Mississippi River, with everything else we have water-wise.
Yeah.
And we can't keep the damn water on here, the Pearl River. What is the problem? I know what the problem is. It's a rhetorical question.
Know, right? Do you really want the answer to that, Clay? No.
Do y'all want the answer to that? That's the question.
I mean, so that's what the official was saying. I'm driving here and they're talking about the state is taking assets and always has taken assets. And I'm like, that's a detachment from reality. Like, we wouldn't have a city if the state had not stepped in. We wouldn't have a Belhaven, Fondren, or CCID district if the state had not stepped in with Capitol Police. Because without them, I really believe that neighborhood would have been an exodus that you never have seen in the city in the quickest, shortest amount of time. Now, you thought South Jackson took a short time. This would have been quicker. Because, I mean, if everybody's getting robbed and carjacked at night, which was going on in the summer of 21. I mean, there was 2 carjackings in front of my house in one night. Yeah. You know, at that point, you're like, okay, I'm leaving because safety purposes, and I don't care if I can sell my house because I'll just go, they can I'll declare bankruptcy or they can
I'd rather be alive.
Whatever they want to do.
I'd rather be alive and bankrupt than dead and bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, and when you have, Renee, our friend Renee over at Genesis Hattiesburg, he had his roommate had walked in the middle of the day. And you've been to Renee's house many times. I mean, nice street right there. You wouldn't think anything. And got carjacked in the driveway. And this was just that summer. It was constant. And then, I think it was that fall that Megan West and Matt got robbed and their kids and Halloween and all that stuff. So
terrible.
It was just escalating to a point. I was on this group thread with a bunch of guys in the neighborhood and talking. Basically, it sounded like, we're going to put up machine gun nests in the front yard and do what we can, because people were like, look, man, I got a wife and kids. What do I do? And you get to that point. So the state, my point is, it's a long-winded way of saying the state, and I'll give Tate Reeves all, the credit in the world on this, and it sounds funny come from me, but he saved the city of Jackson, in my point. Like, I think he really did. Well,
that goes back to the same thing, right? You got to start a conversation from a place of honesty, and being genuine, and to say that Tate didn't step in and literally save the city of Jackson would be extremely disingenuous. And I've been as critical from the conservative side of Tate Reeves as anybody. Actually, the other hosts at this radio station as well have kind of flown that flag.
Right.
But, we've also understand when it's time to say, hey, I've turned the corner. He's turned the corner. He's doing a good job on stuff now. And I'll give the guy his roses. Fred Shanks said this, so I want to make sure I credit him. I don't think he'll mind. Tate's Jackson water and Jackson crime situation, especially the water, that was his Haley Barbour Hurricane Katrina moment.
That's a good way of putting it.
And it really turned the corner for me, and how he stood toe to toe against the Free the Land caucus, with them calling him a racist and everything else, and the left wing media, your Ashton Pittmans of the world, the Mississippi Free Press. Mississippi Today, all them, when Tate made the comment, but when he was down at Hattiesburg, it's a good day not to be in Jackson.
Yeah, was he
and they're like, how could you possibly say that you wouldn't want to be in Jackson?
Because there's no water?
There's no water.
There's no water.
You're killing each other in an industrial clip.
Yeah,
there's not a single safe gas station in the entire city. No. I mean, there's probably one. I mean, the one I always point to. No, look, there are several that no crimes have happened at.
Right.
But just like when I think of safe gas stations, like somewhere if I had to, if I had to tell my family we got to stop here or we're going to be literally pushing the car back to Rankin County, it's the one in front of Whole Foods. The little Shell station there in front of at Highland Village.
That's always had the good auto service.
Yeah, it's full service gas station.
It's really great. Yeah, that's been there forever.
And I hear really good things too about the one across the street from it there on the corner of Northside that independently owned. When the guy also bought the one up there at Briarwood.
Yeah, the one on the frontage road and kind of the frontage road in Northside. Corner of the front, right? Yeah,
like it would be across from where at the corner of Highland Village where Mint or where Julep was. It'd be like directly across the street from Julep.
I know exactly which one. They redid that place and it's really nice. It used to be a crappy gas station years ago.
Same guy did it. Bought the little small one there, the little old Texaco right at Briarwood exit too.
Oh, really? The old Beatties? See, I know.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a gas station connoisseur on the city. Actually, I really.
All right. Speaking of that, we got to take a break real quick. We've run over. We'll be right back with Shaun YURTKURAN on the Clay Edwards Show. The Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. We're streaming worldwide at WYAB.com as well as the TuneIn app. And Alexa, just search WYAB. If you want video, go to the Save JXN Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, or X accounts, and you can stream us live in this, basically like sitting in the studio with us. So check those out. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, share wherever you're watching this at. We do appreciate that. It helps the show grow. Creates more opportunity for us to do more things, which, hey, that's always a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Let's see here. This segment brought to you by Stonington Farm, grass-fed beef. Guys, you got today and tomorrow to get your orders in. They're going to be up here in central Mississippi Friday, delivering to Florence, Brandon, and Ridgeland. That's right. So get your order in now. You can't buy it off the truck without you have to pre-order. They don't bring extra, unfortunately. But hey, when you're selling as much as they're selling, it's hard to bring extra, and people show up and they don't have what they have. So pre-order, get yours in today. Go to StoningtonFarm.com. That's Stonington with 2 N's, farm, not farms, StoningtonFarm.com. Get some of that 100% grass-fed, 100% grass-finished, Mississippi-raised beef. mRNA-free, antibiotic-free, and steroid-free. Try the hamburger meat. Makes for great tacos, meatloaf, burgers, of course. It's football season. Surely you're out there grilling some burgers. I know I am. Check them out. You will not regret it. They got everything from steaks to bone broth to mini cow packages, whole cow packages. They got some specials running this month as well. Go to StoningtonFarm.com. You're going to view our cuts. That's where you see all the different options available. It's going to have the pricing there. It's going to have a phone number. You actually get to call and talk to the owner of this business. That's Miss Katie Stonington. She's going to answer any questions you may have. And, man, you're going to learn more about grass-fed beef than you ever thought you wanted to know. And you're going to feel really good about what you eat because it's going to be really good for you. And, man, our health is more important now than ever. Coming out of COVID and learning the things that we learned about our health and how these diseases attack folks who aren't healthy more. At least that's the way it appeared. Mm. So get your health right, and by controlling what you eat. And controlling what you eat, sometimes you think you're eating healthy and you're not because you don't know what these big companies are putting in these foods. Stonington Farm is putting grass in these foods. And that's it, my friends. 100% grass-fed, 100% grass-finished, Mississippi-raised beef, StoningtonFarm.com. You got till Thursday around lunchtime to get your order in for a Friday pickup here in central Mississippi. All right, man, we got about 3 or 4 minutes left in this segment, and we'll be bumping up against our top-of-the-hour break before you know it. We've got a whole another hour to go with Shaun YURTKURAN here in the studio. Shaun, let's hit up a couple chats in the on the live stream here. A lot of good folks. Jan says she had lost the audio. Jan, we cut the audio off during the commercial breaks there. Yeah. So let's see here. Nathan, it's a little bit long-winded, but Nathan Russian says, seems like they're trying to condition us looking at these assassination attempts as a new normal and setting the Secret Service and FBI as the weak link they can hammer when their actual sniper fires the kill shot. The implant will be someone who fits the definition of first. 2, he'll be Nathan, brother. You kind of can't speak in code here. Definition of first. 2, and he'll be dead, and the rest will be history. I'm feeling that the best way they could transition the United States is as law and order, because everyone will be distracted with the horrific event and not notice until too late. Pretty much a Patriot Act type scenario. Let me decipher that what I can.
Okay.
And I guess Nathan is suggesting that we're trying to make these assassination attempts be the new normal, and that I agree with. It's happening at a clip 2 in the last 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
That we this one barely made the news cycle, comparatively speaking.
I've thought that too. I did want to ask you. I've been meaning to ask you this question too. I thought about it a lot the last few days. I was thinking about the Kennedy assassination, and there were people out there after that happened. I don't know if people know this from their history. That were really happy about it. There were people that hated Kennedy a lot. And there's a good scene in the movie JFK where they're all at a bar in New Orleans, and Kevin Costner's character, who's playing the district attorney that prosecuted one of the conspirators, and they're cheering that die. Like there's people there that just hated Kennedy. And then we've seen that with Trump too. After the first one, especially, there was like Benny Staffer that got caught making a reference or something like wish he'd hit him and stuff. And what I think is interesting to me is that you saw what the impact of the Kennedy assassination was. And I know Trump's not president now, but I still think it'd have a great impact. Like, does the person who's willing to assassinate him think that's going to end well? You know what I mean? For the country? Like, you're doing the country let's say you're just totally far left and you hate him. And you don't think that that's going to set off a storm, the likes of which, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how anybody doesn't conceptualize the issue that would create.
Well, they think they're a time traveler going back to stop AI and the machines. They're John Connor.
The John Connor. Right?
I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, they don't. They think they're saving the world, regardless of the short-term loss. That the long-term gain is them saving the world from an existential threat.
Yeah.
And when you use language like that, this is what you end up with: is people who think they're stopping an existential threat, as if the border being wide open isn't an existential threat, but neither here nor there. Yeah, that's exactly what you're dealing with. I heard a theory the other day, and I hate to drop this nugget with 1 minute to go in this segment, but it'll set us up, I guess. I heard a theory get floated around. I don't know if it's a theory as much as it is just a question. Is, if you knew, would you kill baby Hitler?
Now that was the question going around in 2016.
Okay,
right?
Would you kill baby Hitler if you knew, all things being equal, what baby Hitler was going to turn into?
It's funny. I was thinking about that question right before you said it, because that went back to 2016 campaign, and I don't know. You know what? I don't know, and here's why. And it sounds ridiculous, right? Because it seems obvious that you would want to prevent that. But if you. Have you ever seen that Hulu series 11-22-63?
About the Kennedy assassination.
And he stops it, and history's changed. I don't know. I mean, you might alter history in a different way.
Yeah,
that's the way that we wouldn't expect it, and it would have been worse. So I don't know. And then you're also killing some innocent kid because the kid hasn't done anything yet. I mean, can you use that later to justify killing other children that may do something? Well, that kid, comes from a really bad family. They want to kill him. Interesting thing, though, the Hitler family after that all made a pact to never have any children.
Yeah,
they, I'm sure, yeah, and they all think they ever did.
To kill off their own bloodline.
Yep.
Very interesting. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back with Shaun YURTKURAN here on the Clay Edwards Show. Y'all let us know in the comments. What do you think about that? All things being equal, would you eliminate a baby Hitler, knowing if you knew how it was going to turn out, if you had the foresight and had a DeLorean and you knew how this story ended before it began? We'll be right back. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. We got about a minute here before our top of the hour break. Let me pull this back up. So we got about a minute here for the top of the hour break, and when we come back, man, we got a whole slew of topics. We want to hit the Carly Gregg murder trial here locally. Shaun just brought up a great thing about what's driving low birth rates. I want to hear what he's got to say about that. We'll discuss it during the break, and who knows what else we will stumble into concerning this. I want to read all your comments, your texts, your ideas, and I do want to dive into what is the sacred cow of Jackson? Like, what's the one thing that they don't want to shut down, and why is it the zoo? because that appears to be the only thing that they're dead set on not closing. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun YURTKURAN. We will be right back. All right, guys. We got 7 minutes. We'll be right back. Stay tuned to the Clay Edwards Show here with Shaun YURTKURAN, streaming live on the World Wide Web. Y'all be sure to hit the share button, hit the like button. Let folks know that we're doing this on the interwebs now. It helps go a long, long way. We appreciate you. We'll be right back. Boom, shakalaka boom. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the radio. I say probably. I haven't listened to every radio show in the country, but I'm just going to call it most incendiary show in the country on the radio. Now, there's more incendiary stuff on the interwebs, and I can do that too. But with that said, welcome back in.
Don't give you a challenge.
Yes, challenge accepted.
No, don't anybody
challenge
ask Clay
accepted.
To do anything more incendiary than he does. Please, God.
We are live here in the studio this morning. The Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. Mazda of Jackson phone line 601-879-0002. This segment is going to be brought to you by our friends over at I have to pull my stuff up here. Boykin Contractors. Boykin will do roofing, remodeling, additions, repair, and they do it all over the metro area. Lots of satisfied and repeat customers, licensed, bonded, and insured with the Mississippi Board of Contractors. Bryce is a Christian. He operates his company as a Christ-centered company with honesty and integrity. You can reach out to him at 601-951-7336 or check him out on Google or Facebook, etc. Just search Boykin Contractors. That's Boykin, and get all your home repairs, remodels, expansions, all that stuff.
I need to call Bryce and see if I can do a deck or something.
I
really, you've seen my deck.
Yes,
you've seen it needs to be fixed.
You need some deck work done, my friend. You need some deck work done.
Deck work. Bryce, let me reach out to you, buddy. That's really, I keep, every year I keep saying I'm going to do it, and then I just don't do it. I mean, because it's expensive, get worried about it. But now you're like, I'm finally like, somebody's going to, like when you and Fred were walking on the back, I was like, man, if that deck goes, one of those guys is going to sue me. Because you can get sued for that.
Oh, I know.
So.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I know you wouldn't. I'm kidding, but,
But
I don't trust Fred, though. I mean, he might have.
He's a politician.
He's a politician. He might have.
Politician.
He's like, Jackson, everything in the infrastructure, even people's decks are messed up in Jackson.
It's Chockway's fault.
Chockway's fault. Right.
Van Conrad says on the live chat that Shaun does not look anything like I pictured him to look. Yeah, I have built him up as a low testosterone, soy-driven vegan, with purple hair, and he's actually none of those things.
Yeah.
But his political beliefs tend to lean that way. I mess with Shaun because as I've got to know Shaun over the last year or so, what I realize is, and I use the word naive not as a insult, because, I mean, you're obviously about 10 years of prosecution in Jackson. The world's a bad place. But I just think that Shaun's bleeding heart comes from a good place. Like, he wants to believe in people. He wants to believe that there's a better world out there, and there can be a better world out there. And I'm just jaded and have a calloused heart and soul, and I don't believe that exists out there. I don't believe in the good in people. I believe there's good people, but I believe the bad people are just that. They're bad people, and the world needs less of them, FAFO style. And but I can appreciate Shaun's point of view.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, sometimes I can be a little too I don't know what the word here. Hopeful. I guess I would say. That's changed though over the course of time. Obviously, especially kind of like what we're about to talk about. The things that started me on when I was younger, being a Democrat, are just not the same things anymore. And I think what we're about to talk about is a really good example of that, about where certain ideology is become downright crazy. I think, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's just become, and it doesn't really, it's not very, it's nonsensical, I guess now. That's why.
It is. I'm going to let you set this one up. Yeah. Let's talk about these birth rates and some of the, the world is obviously experiencing, or America in particular, experiencing extremely low birth rates right now, and that's kind of been the excuse, one of the excuses for the border being open, which is not the reason I buy at all. Mm-hmm. I do not think that is what they're thinking.
Sure.
But with that said, Shaun, explain, kind of set it up, tell people what we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, I read this morning. I happened to run across an article in the National Review, which I go back to. It's a conservative publication, and I thank you to Kingfish for getting me and Clay subscriptions to it. It's actually really good if anybody wants to check it out. They had an article this morning about what's really driving the birth rate crisis. And it's saying that right now we're at a 1.8 birth rate, which is below our replacement level of 2.1. And that is going to, obviously we're just not replacing ourselves. And the reason for that is that young men and women aren't having sex, basically, is what it is. It said that they did a study that 50% of young men have never or almost never approached a woman to ask for a date. And then a part of that entire data set, 29% of men have never approached a woman in person before.
Now, I do believe that young women are having sex.
Yeah, it's easier for them, right?
With older men.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
I don't mean like illegal stuff here. I mean like
25-year-old, 50-year-old.
Yeah, 20-year-old college girls with 30-year-old dudes.
Yeah.
Stuff of that nature.
No, I see exactly. I think that's right too. I think I think that's exactly happening. But it's young men aren't asking women out, aren't approaching women. It's half of that study that said that.
And they're not learning how to deal. I've talked about this for a while. Young men are not learning how to deal with rejection face to face.
No.
Like sitting next to a girl at a bar and deciding you think she's attractive and figuring out a way to have a conversation that leads to a date, which leads to whatever down the road, whether it's a one-night stand or not recommending that. That is a life of hardship and heartache if you go down that road. But they're not learning how to have a conversation with women and deal with that rejection. There's like with these apps, it's just really zero rejection. Either you match up or you don't. It's just this weird crapshoot. Like, but let me run some game for a minute. They're not learning how to do any of that. They're not learning how to be a closer. None of that stuff. And how to sell themselves to a girl.
And when they go on the date, then it's like even more awkward because they've just not done that before.
No.
If they actually get to that point. Which doesn't seem like most of them are even getting to that point at all, which is causing this problem that we're having. That coupled with another thing, which is interesting, the article pointed out that there's a lot of these policies that young men are being influenced by. That I'm going to call them, I'm going to go with their kind of left-wing radical policies, what it sounds like to me, or at least ideas. That one of them, the state of California passed a law like affirmative yes. And what it really talks about is like coercion, coercing somebody into sex.
Well, like what I was just saying, kind of selling yourself.
Selling yourself is what you would be guilty of coercion. And I can read some of the things. So examples I've got from this law firm website that were linked to the article of coercion are begging. That's so you were sexually coercing someone if you were begging them.
The guys, let me tell you, young guys out there listening, do not beg. They don't like that.
The example they give on the website is, you would sleep with me if you really loved me, can be construed as sexual coercion.
All right. Now, depending on the age group we're talking about here, if you are willing to say you love somebody, you probably should have already had intercourse.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, and also that sounds like more like some dude that's like 55 and been married for a long time, but it's got to kind of beg. Withholding. So if you're withholding, withholding things for sex, that's coercion.
Sandbagging that.
Yeah, this one I thought was the funniest. If your partner encourages you to have a drink, so you'll have sexual relations, that is coercing you. So if you ask a girl to have a drink, you're coercing them.
What? Just period. Like even if you're not necessarily thinking. Because if you can just get them to that third margarita, it's usually on.
That's that. Well, if your intent, it's kind of like the law. Like if your intent is to have sex with them, so like buying them a drink apparently is a form of coercing someone into it, according to this. And so they're saying that this is causing these kinds of ideas are causing young men not to go out with any women, and that's why people aren't getting married and not having children. And then the people that are having children, as it points out, are people at the lower economic end of the spectrum. So the wealthier people or upper middle class are not having kids, and
idiocracy come to life.
Yeah, and that's essentially So that seems to be an issue. And that's it kind of tracks to the I'm sure you've seen this. Young men under 30 are increasingly conservative. And pro-Trump. Have you noticed that?
Gen Z, we feel like we're told that they're the gayest generation, and that I think that's a lie. I mean, I think they're very more open to things. Yeah. I don't think they're necessarily the gayest generation. I think they're interviewing. Those polls are done very sampling more gay people.
Sure.
It's I think that's where that's coming from. But they are the most conservative. But we're being told that it's different. Like the media wants you to believe that Gen Z is this very liberal, at least in my algorithm.
Yeah.
That's how it's pushed forward. But I do believe having a Gen Z daughter and being around her Gen Z friends and being being a Gen Z parent.
Yeah.
I completely disagree. I think they're more political than we ever were at that age, and they're leaning way more conservative, at least down here in the South.
I think actually what I've read that's occurring nationwide with men under 30.
Yeah.
Women it's the opposite. They're getting more liberal.
Well, see, okay, now I'm going to use my daughter as an example here, and I don't push my politics on her, and I never have. We don't really have those conversations. She kind of went down the Trump rabbit hole and the conservative rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And she's not very political, but like Trump is this pop culture phenomenon.
Sure.
You know, whether it's through these websites or social media accounts like Old Row and Outkick and what's the other one? Old Row, Outkick, Barstool.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of testosterone-driven frat boy sorority girl lifestyle kind of stuff.
Right.
All that is skewing very conservative.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be like particularly with men like under 30. There's when I read about it, it's because they're wanting to be guys because they're men, right? They want to do man things like go play sports and hunt. And,
I mean, look, newsflash here, guys like attractive girls.
Yeah, I mean, they want to go on dates. They want to do guy stuff, and like society is telling them that. You're like that's basically toxic masculinity if you want to go fishing or whatever it's saying. So they are rebelling against that kind of outlook, and that's why they've skewed. It's actually the first time that a Republican candidate has had the male group under 30 in their favor. So because of this attitude that's kind of told them, hey, look, it's not cool to be a dude anymore. So and they're like, we don't like that. Well, I mean, this is a great example talking about if you offer a girl a drink, that's coercion. You're a bad guy.
Let me ask you a question. This actually feels I wasn't there, but just having read history and heard people talk about it, it's actually it's almost like the left have become the evangelical right from the 60s that were trying to outlaw sex and dancing and rock and roll and anything that represented a good time. And that's what pushed the kids of those super conservative parents into being your hippies and more liberal and the sexual revolution and all that stuff. And now there has been a big switch. Now it's the liberals who are trying to stifle everything, and it's the conservatives who are kind of the fun, carefree, free love, good times, partying. I mean, it's done through more of a redneck lens, maybe, but it's still the same end result.
I think that's a great analogy. I didn't even think about it that way. I think what you're saying is that's exactly it. You remember from our youth in the 90s, it was parental advisory explicit lyrics. And that
Tipper Gore.
Yeah, Tipper Gore. But I mean, even though Tipper was involved, generally it was conservative stopping, like Two Live Crew. Like, conservatives were trying to shut all this stuff down.
Twisted Sister.
Yeah, Twisted Sister. Metal music in the 80s was satanic. This is all conservatives saying that video games are bad. It's everything and that was generally from the conservative end. And now it's switched to where liberals they're canceling it for a different reason. I think there are two. One is this
toxic femininity.
Yeah, like that kind of thing, and then
toxic feminism.
And then the other thing is that everything is racist. That's the other thing that they do. And so they want to cancel any thought to anything that could remotely not fit what the agenda, I guess you would say, for lack of a better term, is the And it's just interesting now. So now people are revolting, and they're like, "Man, I don't want to do that." Even you see that with guys like Bill Maher, who are constantly on this cancel culture thing, and it's really had a very I think it's backfiring because people are like, "Wait a second, man, we just want to go to a comedy show and hear Dave Chappelle make jokes. That's why we're going, or Kevin Hart say what he wants to say." And I think it's really really backfired. I don't know why. It's like their thought process is, we can shape everybody's mind to just agree to this one way. This is what we're all, that it's
What's it? Pat McAfee's in trouble this week.
Oh, no way.
What's it called? A double entendre? Double. South Carolina Gamecocks. Mm-hmm. They were on so the fun use of the word Gamecocks. It's like, we love our cocks. We love our cocks, and he's chanting all this stuff. It's called a double something or another.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
and so he's in trouble this week because the woke left is upset that he led the whole student body It's like, we love our cocks, Gamecocks, you know, and it's like, you know, look, you get it. You get it. I mean, but it's the thing. They're the Gamecocks. It says Saturdays are for cocks. On the girls are wearing these shirts that say all this stuff. And I got guys, look, I know you're tuning in. We're talking about Gamecocks here. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing what he's in trouble for. But breaking rules when necessary. You know, but that who hears that and gets offended?
I don't know.
And it's the left getting offended. The people that generally sit there and tell you that they're agnostic. Was it not agnostic? What are the people that don't believe in God or any of that?
Atheists.
Atheists. Thank you. It's early, man. Atheists. It's usually atheists. So you can't sit here and do it from a moral.
Right.
You know, you can't tell me you're an atheist and do it from a moral standpoint. So you're doing it from a censorship standpoint. It's like, we don't want you to have fun. It feels like the propaganda department thing in 1984.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it's kind of funny tracking off that analogy you gave, like the being liberal or being, you know, the sexual revolution and hippies and all the stuff, and they were growing your hair long, doing all this kind of stuff like that, and now that has, not saying that specific group of people because they're very old now, but the or older. I don't want to offend my parents, but but now that philosophy has turned into like, well, I guess I can say it this way. They want that philosophy, but everybody has to agree with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody has to agree with it.
It's a Stephen Henson. It's a double entendre.
Okay, is that it?
Entendre. I probably pronounced it wrong. All right, look, we got a caller on hold. Caller, please stay there. Everybody stay online. Shaun, stay put. We got to take a commercial break. We'll be right back with Shaun YURTKURAN on the Clay Edwards Show. I'm going to keep this conversation going. We're having some fun with this one. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here with the Shaun YURTKURAN on WYAB. This segment brought to you by our friends over at, let's see here. How about my good buddy, since he's got kicked off Facebook, we'll promote him.
Who?
Hunter over at Guns and Gear. Shout out to Hunter and the team. Today, get over there, Highway 51 North in Gluckstadt, right there at Yandell Road. That's Guns and Gear. They take care of all your brand new gun purchasing needs, used gun purchasing needs. They will buy your gun. They're the home of No Limit Ammo. They can take care of all your Cerakoting and gunsmithing needs. And, man, I mean, don't be afraid to go in there and ask a question. Shaun, you ever going somewhere, and I think gun stores are really bad about this.
Because guys want to be like, I know everything about guns, pretend like they do.
I know more than you know.
I know, yeah. I'm like that at, like, automobile stores because I don't know anything about cars, and I want to act like I know something because I don't want other guys to think I do.
Yeah, and it's becoming like a pee and match.
Yeah.
Dude, they are not like that at Guns and Gear. And I'm not just saying that. I've thought that before but they came on as a sponsor. I've just known Hunter for a while, and those guys are not afraid to. And I'm not saying everybody else is like that too. I mean, there's some good gun stores around here and good folks, but it's just like as a guy that's just on the peripheral of being a gun guy, like it's an intimidating thing sometimes to, like you're embarrassed to ask the stupid question, and there's no stupid questions. Go in there and ask what you're going to ask. They're going to answer you just like every question. There's no such thing as a dumb question except no question. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really important. Whether you're a woman going in there and I guess I'm rolling women under the bus here, ain't I? That's my toxic masculinity. You know,
you would be guilty in California.
Yeah, lock me up. Well, they just passed a law with no memes. Now memes are illegal in California. I mean, I just saw that. But yeah, look, man, my point being, get out there. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. If you call it a magazine or a clip instead of a magazine, they're not going to smack you and put a check by your name on the chalkboard. Yeah. None of that stuff. Don't be afraid to go out there, have a conversation, ask the questions. They're going to be very friendly, locally owned, locally operated, open every Tuesday through Saturday, right there next to Boo's Smokehouse Barbecue in that little shopping center there at Yandell and 51 in Gluckstadt. That's out in Madison County. Heading north, it's on your right.
Man, I'm glad, real quick, that just made me think of what you were just talking about. So, yesterday, Lindsay was over and her battery went out in her car, right? So, like, I had to call AAA to bring it. Was not able to be jumped, you know. And anyway, with what stuff I had. So, they came out and they're like, you know, they'll bring you a battery. And there was a female tech that came out and she's like, well, it's not going to work because this is a start-stop. And I'm like, oh, yes, you're right. I should have known that. Like, no, I had no idea. But, you know, it was a female tech who knew more about cars than I did, that the battery wouldn't fit because it's different if you have a start-stop car. And you have to get a special kind of, they reset it. Well, I didn't know any of this. But the female tech there was explaining this, and I'm like acting like, yeah, totally. That's right. You know, I should have just thought about that. And thank you. You know, she's like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Totally got it.
And I'm like, I can go get that at Car Care Clinic, right? She's like, oh, yeah, you know. I'm like, yes, I go there all the time. I know this guy. You know, pretending like I know this stuff.
A1 Gear and Auto, Shaun.
A1
Gear and Auto, not Car Care Clinic.
Gotcha.
All right, man, let's go back to our conversation I'm really enjoying this. Basically, the birth rates come down, but more so than the birth rate coming down, I'm really just this whole young men not having sex stuff.
Yeah.
What a shame. Now, from a Christian conservative perspective, if you're not married, of course you shouldn't be having sex. So the Christian conservatives have won, but with an assist from the nobody should have a good time Democrats.
Yeah, I think actually, I would say it's more the nobody should have a good time Democrats because everybody was doing it anyway, no matter what the conservative evangelical said. Just human nature. I also think though part of it is not just. I think it's part of it. The other part of it is social media has changed the whole landscape of everything. Whereas there's other. I read another article months ago. They also people don't socially interact. Young people like they did. They interact online. And
nightclubs are not what they once were.
Yep, you know that. They barely don't exist.
I mean, at least they don't here. Maybe they do in other towns. I see videos and stuff online of people partying at clubs. We don't really have them here. We have bars here. I mean, look, I love Shuckers. I'm not bad mouthing Shuckers at all, but it's really the only. And it's really not a club. It's a big bar. It's a big bar,
right?
That just happens to be able to stay open late and kind of operates like a club.
Yeah,
but it's really not a club in my opinion. And maybe that's because I've been going to Shucker since it opened, and it was just a little steakhouse, and then it's kind of evolved.
Right?
Yeah, and then it's kind of evolved into what it is. So just in my mind, there's a mental block from being able to accept that it's kind of a club.
Yeah,
we don't really have clubs now. This is where the racial conversation is gonna come. We have clubs in Jackson that are predominantly black, but I'm talking about, from white suburban kids, that area, people that want to go to a mixed club. There's not a mixed club in Jackson where everybody goes to. Everything in Jackson's either all black. I wouldn't say the counties are all white. I mean, I go to Shuckers and it's probably 80-20, but there's no the kind of clubs I had that catered to everybody. And because suburban white kids, for the most part, ain't coming to downtown Jackson where the zoning allows it. So there's a lot of weird reasons why we don't have clubs in Jackson that everybody goes to. And a lot of it's the crime and just the dynamics of the zoning and the surrounding areas.
Sure.
If you don't have resort status, you got to close at midnight. So there's a lot of weird things there.
Which has kind of made a perfect storm, I guess, even with
it has. Yeah, it's created a perfect storm for there not to be nightlife. Just what I call across the board, cater to everybody nightclub.
Yeah.
We don't have a mega club here anymore, like a Rodeos or Banana Joe's or Headliners or anything like that, or Fire or any of these type places anymore.
And no one's going to open one, I would assume.
I don't foresee that in the cards anytime. Because where would you put it that you feel safe, that everybody would safely feel like they're coming to if it's in the city of Jackson?
Yeah, I can't really think of a place. I mean,
it doesn't exist.
I mean, look what's happening on Tom Bigby Street. You posted this several times about that the clubs over there. So I mean, it's I think it's it would be difficult, but I mean, and I think like I said, the social kind of construct of way younger people are behaving these days is contributing to that. Or I read one thing where they said that if people under 25, if a girl hasn't met you online, if you're a guy, or vice versa, you're not going out with them if you just meet them in person at a bar or something. That's kind of a phenomenon. If they don't feel like they know you unless they met you on Facebook. That's kind of like a first step these days before, it's not like just when we were younger and you're at a bar, you're like, hey, what's up, whoever. And that just, you never met them before in your life. And that's the way things used to work. And it was very normal, but that doesn't work that way anymore.
I need to ask my daughter about this. I mean, because she goes out and her and her friends, her sister, they go out and they have a good time. And, I don't, they better know not to bring no guys back to my house, but it's never even been a conversation.
That's when you're going back to Guns and Gear and getting more guns for the house so you can show them your gun collection.
Yeah, clearly I haven't got my message across. But with
look at the SKS here. You saw that with the,
I want to have that Martin and Will Smith moment from Bad Boys, where the guy comes to open the door,
right.
And Uncle Drunk Martin.
That is the greatest, meet the parent.
No, Will was the drunk one, not Martin.
Will was the drunk one. That's right.
That is one of the best scenes in a Hollywood movie ever. It's underrated, but I think it's classic.
Oh, I mean, I think Martin Lawrence also is underrated as an actor. I don't know if you ever watched Martin in the 90s, the show. It's fantastic. There's a lot of people that just haven't that I've talked to, and I'll make references about Tommy. Nobody knows what his job was.
Yeah,
because we've all got a friend like that. We've all got a friend like Tommy that we don't know what they actually do for a living. but that we all have a friend like this. We don't know.
I think I'm kind of that friend for some people.
Well, I think everybody kind of knows what you do, really.
But before we jump down that rabbit hole,
sure.
Back to the young men not approaching women and stuff. I think that people are scared of rejection, and look, I learned this kind of earlier on, not thinking about it being a guy meeting girl type thing in the car business the last few years when you had to get somebody's credit information, and you had to run it, and you had to tell them you didn't qualify. The reaction is not like it. Like usually we know we got bad credit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I knew that for years my credit was on the line. It could go either way. It probably was going to go denied. Especially for the last decade coming out of the failed clubs and all that stuff. But with that said, I was not surprised if I couldn't buy a car. I mean, I have seen
that's happened to me when I right out of law school, like my 20s.
Yeah, I've seen these younger guys nowadays like get fighting mad at you. Like, what you mean I ain't getting no car? Screw you, F you. Like, I'm not the decision maker.
Like the people that we know that are angry at the bank.
Yeah.
They're like, if you've ever had a bad experience at the bank, it's you, not the bank. Like, that's what I always say. It's you're the problem, not the bank.
Yeah, somebody tells me they hate their bank, it's like, because you don't pay your bills, and they call and harass you.
Yeah, that's why you hate the bank. I mean, the bank just takes your money and it's there, and you use it how you want. You know, but it's
but I think like I've just started seeing these reactions change with the younger generation that's never had to deal with real rejection.
Yeah.
And that's why these apps I think are so conducive or so popular nowadays. Just swipe left, swipe right, and if the other person happened to see you and they swipe the same direction, you're a match. That is a strange way to have to link, because that takes all it comes down. It is strictly about aesthetics at that point.
Right.
And I mean, look, I've always been an outkick my coverage kind of guy.
Yeah, same, right.
Like I'm not, like if you put my picture up with, 5 or 6 better looking guys, I'm not winning that. But you give me some FaceTime, I'm probably going to win that.
You can close that game, right? I mean, that's why they're saying that like it's only a certain percentage of guys on those apps that actually meet women anyway. So that's another problem for younger guys.
Whether it's like the top 20% of dudes are sleeping with the 80% of the women.
Yeah, because like guys will sleep with anyone. So like even one that's not as
we'll down kick our coverage as well.
Yeah, I mean because men are just that way. I mean like every guy I know is like that. So yeah, so it works for them very well. Apparently, that's what it's actually studies on that. But I'm not just I'm not spitballing that.
No. I've read them too. I've read them too. Yeah, like the top 20% of men, whatever that 20, however they come up to what they consider top 20%, it's looks, income, whatnot, or sleeping with like 80% of the women.
Right, it's something like that. So,
and then women wonder why they can't find no good man.
There's these, and I mean, also if they're not meeting them in person, it's based on all these factors on the internet. I mean, that's it's another problem. But I mean, when you think about it, like I don't even know if you were younger today, what you go to what are people into? Big other cities, they're into going to breweries. Like that's a big thing to do. And now we've got one here, and I see it's really packed. And so I mean, they do that, but they don't go to bars, like even bars as much as I think that we did. Like it's not as a big thing. I mean, I know they do, but I mean, I don't know about you, but in my early 20s, I lived literally lived at the bar.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they go and do now.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not all riding 4-wheelers. They're not all out on boats. They're not all fishing. Like, what are younger kids doing now? Where are they hanging out? What are they doing? I mean, they're really not doing bowling alleys. I just don't know. I mean,
right. I mean, I guess they're old too, so we don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, there's other places I guess you can go. There's other things. Maybe they're going to church.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. I'm going to go with it. I don't think that's it.
Well,
I mean, I've read those, church attendance has declined over the last decade pretty significantly, so I don't know if that's it. But actually, that would probably be a good place if they were trying to meet each other. I just, We
just got an interesting, this is from Casper G on YouTube, says, I'm a 22-year-old white male. My generation had the highest suicide rate. Schools are telling us to eat less meat, and it's pretty much an insult to women if we go and introduce ourselves to them in bars. Well, that backs up kind of what you were saying earlier, Shaun, about girls act offended now if you somehow introduce yourself prior to them having some type of online interaction.
Yeah, that's what I've read. I read it's almost like, well, it makes sense. Like, what did we just read the first segment? Coercing is offering someone a drink. So I guess if they've ever met you online, then you come up to them in a bar and ask, try to talk to them. They're like, oh, is this guy going to commit a sexual assault? I don't know, because I don't know him. I didn't meet him on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. So.
Now, and I guess I can appreciate that from the female's perspective, or at least wanting to have some idea who somebody is. So, I mean, from just a situational awareness standpoint, I get it. But I mean, I think, man, you're leaving out the possibility of actually meeting somebody that you like.
Yeah, I mean, and that you're not, because how many times have you gone out, and I'm talking about before you did the radio show, where you run into somebody you were friends on Facebook that you had never met in real life, but you were like, oh, you know who that person is already and everything about them, and you're like, because, oh, you're so-and-so from Facebook.
Yep. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, I think we got Kingfish on hold with, I'm guessing, an update on the Carly Gregg trial. We'll be right back with Shaun YURTKURAN on the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back, guys, in 4 minutes. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here with Shaun YURTKURAN on WYAB. Well, we had somebody on hold. I guess they decided to tap out. We only got a few minutes left anyway, so no point in changing topics this morning. Let's stick with where we're at. We'll cover Carly Gregg Friday.
Yeah, that's good.
We should have a verdict by then. And, you know, Shaun brought up a great point. He said that it's going to be interesting to see this insanity deal if it works. I mean, she's obviously crazy.
Yeah.
But is it
seems apparent to me?
Is she going to the mental? Is she going to Whitfield, or is she going to Parchman?
Yeah, that seems to be the question. You know, it's because as far as I've never actually seen somebody raise the McNaughton insanity defense. That's what it's called, McNaughton insanity. And I asked a couple prosecutor buddies of mine, and one of them had seen it. It's a very rare thing. You know, what we see in the movies, he's just going to plead insanity. Well, it just the way it works is it's not you plead, it's a defense to a crime, and so they're going to try to go with that here. And what I think operationally the way it works is if you were found not guilty by reason of McNaughton insanity, then I think they send you to Whitfield to like restore your sanity. I think that's the way, but I've never actually seen this. Not many people have, and then they can let you out. There's an example of what happened with Dr. Smith. You ever read the book Dispatches from Pluto?
No.
And I think he had that where he tried to. There was like an assassination attempt on Lee Abraham, who's an attorney in the Delta. And Jim Hood's investigators killed, or one of the guys that tried to kill, and that was all based on Dr. Smith. It was like a plot to kill his wife's former divorce attorney.
I remember all that.
Yeah. And well, he didn't go to trial, but he was deemed, I think, incompetent to stand trial, which is a little different. And they went over to Whitfield, and they eventually, had to let him out of Whitfield. Now he's back living in Belhaven. I think I saw him not long ago walking around. So I think that's similar to what happens in this, where you go to Whitfield and they try to restore you or whatever. But I'd have to I'm actually checking on that because I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody plead it. I mean, you raise it as defense before. So it's going to be. So I'm going to watch some of it today because it's such a rare thing to happen. It's almost like a law school thing. You learn about McNaughton insanity, but you don't ever see anybody do it, and it's very rarely. So it'll be interesting. Yeah,
interesting. So, like I said, we had somebody on hold, another mad. But with that said, Daryl in the chat on Facebook says, no more real nightclubs. They are so addicted to social media, and girls won't date or meet you unless you have a, quote, social status. Different world. Now, look, I'll say this. Girls have always been attracted to guys with social status.
Yeah.
Regardless of what said social status was. Mm-hmm. Right. How many followers or whatever. I mean, I will say it's been an interesting ride back in the single world the last 2 months. The first time I've really been single since, kind of got into all this.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a brief minute between marriage and the last relationship, but I wasn't actually going out and dating in that brief minute.
Right.
And so this is the first time kind of out and about and, experiencing it all again. And I could do without it. I'm just going to be honest.
You just want to stay home and watch Netflix?
Yeah.
Or YouTube documentaries?
I would much rather be, in a settled down relationship with somebody I want to be in a relationship with, not something just to buy the time.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying that, the people who just jump into relationships just to be in one, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting somebody's time that could be with somebody who wants to be with them, and you're wasting your time as well, just so you have something comfortable.
Right.
And I think that all that feeds into this. I think another problem too. I was talking with somebody about this yesterday, and this is just social media and dating in general. And I know this is a political talk show, but guys, I'm burnt out. I'm just burnt out on politics right this second.
That's what we were talking about at the break.
What? You're voting for Trump or you're voting for Kamala. Can we just get to November 5th? Mm-hmm. All the minutia in between. Yeah, it's just my brain is scrambled right now with it. But circling back to what I was saying, one of the big problems, and I think one of the causes a lot of these failed relationships, and it creates a lot more older people in the dating market. That's why you got so many older single guys in the dating market that are eating up the younger girls and keeping the younger guys from being able to have girls in their age group. Is I think a lot of women, and I'm going to point this cannon at women right now, are they post pictures online, they do all this stuff, and they're always looking for the next best thing. You know, their sexual marketplace value is running out as they get, into their 40s and 50s. It just is what it is. Yeah. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not telling you something you don't know.
Yeah.
And they start wondering, can I do better? Can I do better than what I have? Is this going to be the last guy I'm ever with the rest of my life? Is there another one out there, a little more money, a little more social status, a little more prestige?
Isn't that a crappy way to look at the world, though? It sucks. It's like, you think you really should hope. And I guess, I should follow, this maybe goes back to the naivety thing, like my life experience should have taught me this, but that you would hope that, like, you meet somebody, you get married, you're actually in love with the person, and that's it. That's kind of what the theory is, but it doesn't seem to work out that way.
No. I mean, I think women sit back and they're like, is this what I'm going to be with the rest of my life? And, all these hot guys are always hitting on me and liking my pictures and sliding in my DMs and, Clay, I'll just use my name for example, sitting over here, treats me right, but, is there something better? Am I missing something out there? Let me in my 40s, mid-40s, go out here and see what's left before my, sexual marketplace value taps out. And I think then that pushes guys back into the dating world. And again, I'm just using myself as an example. I'm not pointing anybody out in specific here. I'm just saying that this happens. And people are never – I was telling a friend of mine last night, people are just never happy with what they have. They always try to leave the door just open enough, and guys or girls, leave the door open just enough to see if they're with an 8, can they get a 9? If they're with a 9, can they get a 10? And that nobody ever just accepts that we can't all outkick our coverage.
Well, and then, what you're saying also, and I agree with you, I think that happens all the time. It really means that relationships are transactional, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. They're not about, like, I love this person, I care about this, and that you're talking about. I hear this from a lot of guy friends of mine, tons. I think everybody pretty much. It means it's transactional. Yeah. Love is transactional. I mean, that's, it seems like some people are getting short in the stick on that, I guess. I mean, if it's just transactional.
Yeah, and then you get a 50-year-old single female. There's no good guys out there. Well, now you're not a 10 anymore.
Yeah.
And guys do seem to have the ability to date younger when they're 50. Women don't.
Yeah, I think I've read a lot about that too. It's interesting because for some reason I think it's just women are, naturally like want to be protected, and that's just human biology essentially. And so like older guys, men have always been it's not weird, but like when you see like and nothing's wrong if you want to. I don't judge anybody's relationships. I mean, especially as messed up as mine has been over the years. But I mean, if you're like a 50-year-old woman and you're like a 30-year-old guy, people are like, oh, that's kind of awkward. But if you're a 50-year-old guy, and
it's just always been like that.
It's always been like that. I don't know exactly the specific reasons. I mean, I've read some, but that's just kind of the way society's always run. So.
All right, let's take our last break of the day. Come back, land the plane for the day. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun YURTKURAN here on WYAB. All right, Internet, I am logging off of here because we're just coming back for a minute to land the plane. Thank y'all for tuning in today. We will see you back here tomorrow. I will see you online at some point. Come check me out tonight at Burgers Blues Barbecue in downtown Brandon. I'll be there broadcasting live from about 5 o'clock till 6 or 6:30. Come check out the Cordless Corner competition or just log in online and check out the live stream that I'll be doing, interviewing some folks and all that stuff. Stay blessed, stay safe, and peace out. All right, welcome back in as we land the plane for the day. Guys, make sure you get out to 042 Wine and Spirits this week to get all your wine and liquor needs taken care of, located right there on Highway 80 or West Government Street in Brandon, 042, right next door to Sonny's Barbecue. Locally owned, locally operated, Brandon's first liquor store, voted Brandon's best liquor store. Go see Kevin, Kim, Brad, the entire crew over there. Let them help you out with the perfect elixir for your dinner, for your if you're hosting an event, your tailgate, your football parties, or anything else. They got it all from airplane bottles of Fireball up to all your favorite wine, tequilas, bourbons, wines, and more. That's 042 Wine and Spirits. Shaun YURTKURAN, thank you. Great Thanks. Show today. We'll see you Friday. I'll be back here tomorrow with Douglas Carswell. The Brit will be here in the studio with me. I will see y'all then. Peace out.